Hello and welcome back. It's Big Apple Baseball Banter. This is Elias here. Today we will be doing another tier list about my New York Mets. I'm just trying to do some more shorter term content for the channel, not just, the podcast we do. Obviously, we're still going to do the podcast, but today I just want to go over some of the players on the 2020 Mets team and basically sort them whether they're overrated or underrated. Before I continue, make sure you follow us on Instagram, big.apple.baseball.banter. And also to get on the podcast, you can call in 585-622-4931. Uh, voicemails, so you can do your questions, comments, anything you want to do. Just call in. So, I didn't make this tier list. I'm just using a random 2020 tier list. So some of these guys actually didn't play for the Mets last year, either in minor leagues or got DFA'd really early on, but I probably won't even rank those guys. It's the same tier list I did last time. I just changed the tiers. So we have extremely overrated, slightly overrated, properly rated, slightly underrated, extremely underrated, and who cares. So we're going to sort these guys based on, how they're rated by Mets fans, outside MLB fans, stuff like that. All right, so the first guy is Matt Adams, and I think he's properly rated. Um, he's a power hitting first base bench bat off the bench. That's basically what he is now. He's a bench bat. And he serves that role well. So, next I got Pete Alonso. I also think he's properly rated. People know he was absurdly good his rookie year, especially coming from the power department, and struggled a lot last year. He struggled a lot last year, but people know he's a very good ball player. I see him in trade talks for Blake Snell, which I think is stupid. I think that's insane. But not saying Blake Snell's bad, but Pete Alonso's a phenomenal player. He's gonna be our first base slash DH for the future, for many years to come. Tyler Batchelor didn't really pitch for the Mets last year. He got traded to Pittsburgh. I'll just leave him off the list, honestly. Dellin Betances, slightly overrated. I really like the signing, but I've never seen him as, that kind of elite reliever just because of his walk issue. He walks a lot of batters. So I don't think he's as great as most people say, but I definitely think he's a very good reliever. Um, Brad Brock, I would say, he's properly rated. He's hot and cold. He's good sometimes, bad some other times. Robinson knows he's overrated. It kind of came out why he was so good last year, but which I guess means he's properly rated. But I hate the guy. Same thing with Cespedes. Well, people don't really think he can. He's probably properly rated. Going into last year, extremely overrated. Guys were talking about him being DH. I was like, no, you want Dom Smith, young guy for the future. He can actually hit. Cespedes can barely walk anymore, and he cares more about dancing than baseball, and he quit on the team last year. So yeah, I'll probably put him in properly rated because people don't really think he's that good anymore. But I need some guys, the different tiers. Michael Conforto is slightly underrated, actually. By MLB fans, extremely underrated. By Mets fans, I think he's slightly overrated, actually. Mets fans love the guy for good reason. He had a phenomenal year last year, but even before that, people were talking to him about a top right fielder. I don't really see him that way. He was a pretty streaky hitter before last year. Last year, he was phenomenal. His defense is pretty, slightly above average. It isn't bad, but yeah. JD Davis, um, like if you guys listened to our last episode, Ben said he was the most overrated player on the team. I don't agree with that. Maybe you put him slightly overrated because of that. I think Mets fans hyped him up a little more than he deserves, but he is a very good hitter. Didn't have a great year last year, but uh, hmm, yeah, I like him there. Jacob DeGrom, he's properly. Actually, I'm going to put him as slightly underrated because some people don't, especially Yankee fans. Shout out to you, Ben. Act like this guy isn't the best pitcher in the league. I hear Garrett Cole's name brought up a bunch, which I think's crazy. He's nowhere near as good as DeGrom. Well, he's not nowhere near as he's close, but DeGrom's better, obviously. Yeah, so that's why I put him in slightly underrated. He's the best pitcher in baseball. Most people admit that, but I'll put him slightly underrated just because I don't think the whole league sees him that way. Edwin Diaz, I'm going to put him in slightly overrated just because he was terrible in 2019. was pretty iffy to start last year, and then he got good again. So Mets fans started calling him elite. He's not elite unless if he can pitch another elite season, then yeah. But I still got that 2019 in the back of my mind. Familia's properly rated. People know he sucks. Not much to say. Jimenez is extremely underrated. I think this guy's a future stud shortstop, to be honest. Really good at the glove, really good speed, and hit a lot better than I expected last year. Not the highest OPS guy because he didn't really hit home runs, didn't really hit for extra bases, but he hits singles and he steals bases, which can kind of account for extra bases in a way. So I think he's a very good shortstop. He might be a future Gold Glover. Unfortunately, there's a lot of competition for shortstop Gold Glove, and he didn't really get the playing time that he should have had last year because obviously he still had Rosario. But I think he's our shortstop moving forward. I love Jimenez. Steven, what's his name? Gonzalez. Yeah, he didn't pitch last year. Robert Zellman's terrible. Who cares? I know he's been okay in the past, but last year he was awful. I see him probably getting non-tendered on Wednesday. Luis Guillorme, probably slightly underrated just because no one really knows what he is. He's a bench bat, who hits for good average. At least he did last year. No power. He's a singles guy. A good bunter too, but he can play multiple positions. He's your perfect utility infield bench guy. So, yeah. Franklin Kilome, no one really cares. Walker Lockett, no one really cares. Jed Lowry, everyone knows he's kind of burnt toast at this point. Which I don't know why I said that. It's more of a football term, but yeah, people know his days are pretty much done, which is sad because I liked the signing at first, but luckily he had guys like J.D. Davis kind of emerge, Dom Smith, guys like that, so you didn't really need him. But yeah, Jed Lowry's not. I think his playing days are done. To be honest, Seth Lugo I think is this one's tough because by Mets fans. Like, as a starter, I don't think he's great. I think he's decent. As a reliever, I think he's very good, so I'll put him in slightly underrated. You can't really pitch him every day, which is kind of annoying having as a reliever, but he's not a great starter. I think he has potential to be a good starter, a very good depth starter if we ever needed that. But I'll put him in slightly underrated. Jake Marisnick's actually pretty underrated. I'll put him in slightly underrated just because he hit really well last year. No one's really going to talk about it because, he's kind of a fourth outfielder. He's kind of known for, sucking at hitting even when knowing when the pitches are coming. So, yeah, actually, I'll put him in prop. No one really, who cares, really? I guess he belongs in who cares, but he's, you see him in the playoffs before with the Astros and stuff. So, yeah, I'll put him there. Steven Matz is absurdly overrated. I'm thinking of actually making a video about why it's time to move on. Either he should be non-tendered on Wednesday or he should be traded, but I don't really know who wants him. Maybe put him in like a throwaway in a trade. People tell me about how much potential he has, how good his stuff is. He pitches scared. He's terrible. Yeah, I don't get why we've had him for so long. You keep saying he's going to put it together. And he even sucked in the bullpen last year, so no, Steven Matz is terrible. Jeff McNeil's slightly underrated. Years past, I would have put him in extremely underrated, but he's kind of catching on more. Making the All-Star team definitely helped him. So I like Jeff McNeil a lot. He's one of my favorite players on the team. I think he's gonna be our second baseman now. People kind of forget that he's a stud second baseman just because he's been playing the outfield, third base. Like when Robinson Cano got suspended, people were talking about, oh, you have a huge hole to fill. You got to go sign DJ LeMahieu or something, which I thought was crazy because you already have a second baseman. You have a top second baseman in the league. He just hasn't really been playing much second base because, Cano's can only play second base. So, like, I've talked about this on the podcast. When we traded for Cano, it was almost like, instead of filling a hole, it was almost like creating a hole. But Jeff McNeil's a stud. I don't know who this guy is. Yeah, probably some pitching prospect. Nito, yeah, who cares? A backup catcher. Definitely, that's probably the biggest hole in the team right now. We cannot go into next year with him starting. I know he hit well last year, but tiny sample size. I like him as a backup catcher. He definitely needs to get better at throwing at runners, but he's fun to watch behind the plate. Brandon Nimmo is extremely overrated. He's, by other fans, don't really talk about him. Mets fans act like this guy's a top center fielder, which, first of all, he's hard to watch out there. He's rough out there. He's really bad out in center field. and he's kind of a one-trick pony. He walks, and that's kind of it. He hits a couple home runs. Doesn't hit for a great average. I've kind of overrated him in the past just because I wanted, a sense of some young talent on the team. But luckily, guys like McNeil, Alonso, Dom Smith came up. But no, he's a decent leadoff guy, but he doesn't, steal bases. So that's not great. He's kind of known for his, hustle. He runs after getting, hit by a pitch or walking. So he's kind of a one-trick pony. I think he's pretty overrated. Steven Nagosic, yeah, he didn't pitch for them last year. Eduardo Nunez, who cares? Utility guy, who cares? Corey Oswalt, another who cares. Wasn't awful last year, but yeah. Miguel Castro, I guess I'll put him in slightly overrated. No one really talks about him. I think this is Miguel Castro. I believe so. Just pretend, if it's not, pretend this is Miguel Castro, the reliever we got at the deadline. I didn't get trading for him. I thought if you're going to trade for a reliever, you could gotten someone way better. I know he has good stuff, but my God, he walks a ton of batters. He blew that game against the Phillies to G. Segura. So, yeah, not the biggest Miguel Castro fan, if I was being honest. David Peterson, I actually think is pretty underrated. Five starter, good lefty. I think he's kind of that Steven Matz replacement. Have another left-handed starter in that rotation. I think you can be your 5 or your 4. And I even think he has some potential. He could, be a 3 even. He's a first-round pick, and it was his first year, and he pitched really solid. Had a couple rough outings. I think he kind of had to figure it out in the bullpen, but yeah. Rick Porcello's, no one really thinks he's that good anymore. I guess because he has that Cy Young. I'll put him in slightly overrated just because, he's kind of got the name value when he's not very good. But, yeah, no, Rick Porcello is not good anymore. Wilson Ramos, same thing. I think it's just a bit of name value and people don't realize how bad he was last year. Oh, shit, I skipped someone. I'll come back to him. But, yeah, Wilson Ramos, I don't really know who wants him. Slow, ridiculously slow catcher who can't field and couldn't hit last year. So, yeah. Erasmo Ramirez is extremely underrated. He had I talked about in my other video, he had like a .63 ERA, and yeah, I want to bring him back, be a depth piece, be a long reliever, something like that. If a starter, can't go too long, put him in. Hopefully he has the same success. Jacob Ram got traded to the Angels or claimed off waivers. Rene Rivera, who cares? Meta Rosario, I think, slightly overrated just because of his name value from being a top prospect. I either I want to trade him or move him out to center field. I'd rather have Jimenez playing shortstop. I definitely would like a better option than Rosario. Jackie Bradley Jr., although we do need another right-handed bat. Rosario he's hot and cold. He had a very good second half of 2019 and then was really bad last year. I'm okay to keep him. Just I think we could trade him for something better, either for a established really good major leaguer, or you trade him for some prospects to improve the farm system a bit. But I think he just has that slight name value. I just don't want him playing shortstop anymore. I'd rather have Jimenez. I think this is Ryan Cordell. I don't think anyone really cares. I like Ryan Cordell, but I don't think anyone really cares, like I said. Ali Sanchez, same thing. Paul Sewald, terrible, same thing. Dom Smith is extremely underrated. He had I think he had over 1,000 OPS or very close to it. He led the National League or the league in doubles. Can play a decent first base. Can play left field if you have to. Don't love him out there, but I really like Dom Smith. Like I said before, I was really, saying play Dom Smith, not Cespedes. Luckily, Cespedes opted out. Dom Smith got his playing time, and look what happened. I predicted the future. No, I'm just kidding. Jason Treves, same thing. Stud year last year, good lefty in the bullpen. Actually, I don't think he's that underrated, honestly. Kind of blew up a bit towards the end of the year, but had some outings where he was just shut down, and he was giving you length as well. So, yeah, I like Jason Treves quite a bit. Drew Smith, I guess, he was okay at the beginning, and then he gave up that grand slam to Gary Sanchez. When Gary Sanchez was playing like shit, so that's not good. But I think Drew Smith is a decent, depth piece, compete for a spot in that bullpen. If there's injuries or something, keep bound AAA, something like that. Marcus Stroman's overrated. Or probably extremely overrated. Just because I said he was the most overrated player on the team, that doesn't mean he's bad. I think he's a good pitcher. He's kind of just more known for kind of his gimmick in a way. His height doesn't measure heart, which I think is cool. Having a clothing brand like that. I have nothing against people are shitting on him. He's always famous because he's on. Him and Trevor Bauer because of their Twitter presence. I got no issue if you want to do stuff outside of baseball, as long as you're having the results on the field. He talks a big game, and he sometimes backs it up. That's kind of my issue with him. But yeah, Marcus Stroman. I like Marcus Stroman. I'm glad we brought him back, especially if we signed Trevor Bauer. Having him as a 4-starter, when Syndergaard comes back, would be a stud rotation. But I like Stroman. He kind of bailed on the team last year, kind of gave up on the team. I think with Steve Cohen coming in, him getting excited about that made him want to stay. So yeah, I like Mark Stone, but he's slightly overrated. Same thing with Syndergaard, Syndergaard's slightly overrated. Mark Stroman's extremely overrated. Well, like it's not like like we said on the show, like Cole Tucker, Josh Bell overrated, but like when it comes to the Mets and like Mets fans, MLB fans, like I talked about with Stroman too, and I'll get to Syndergaard, but Toronto fans, man, they overrate this guy. That's for sure. Noah Syndergaard, I just think he lacks a bit of consistency. I love Noah though. I really hope he comes back, pitches well, gets that contract extension. He's kind of a guy with all the potential in the world. He throws like 101, hard slider. He's kind of the people kind of consider him a 1B, which I don't really hate at all. Has similar stuff with DeGrom. DeGrom's obviously a much better pitcher. Not they both have strikeout caliber stuff. So yeah, I think Syndergaard's a little bit overrated, but I think he's still a very good player. Tim Tebow, obviously, I don't think we have to talk about that. Well, no one really thinks of him as an overrated baseball player, so he's properly rated actually. But yeah, Michael Wacha's, yeah, people are talking about him. I saw like a Ken Rosenthal article as like a good, you know, low, low cost option. I like the signing, but his results were not there at all. Gave up a ton of hits, gave up a ton of home runs. His changeup can be nasty sometimes, but yeah, I'm not. The signing did not work out as I thought it would have. Justin Wilson's actually he's pretty underrated. Solid left-handed arm. He's been on a few teams. He's been in Pittsburgh, Detroit, Chicago, the Yankees, now the Mets, and he's kind of just that slightly above average, good left-handed reliever. Those are very, wanted in the league. Daniel Zamora, I don't think pitched either. So these guys were guys who just didn't really play. We got the who cares, extremely underrated, slightly underrated, properly rated, slightly overrated, and extremely overrated tiers. Hope you guys enjoy. I know, tier lists aren't really that big anymore, but I like them. And they're fun. I'll try to do more. Maybe Ben will do some Yankee related ones. We'll see. I just want to make some shorter term content just because, I promote the channel to people. I don't know if anyone wants to, not everyone wants to sit through a 1 hour podcast, sometimes 2 hours, sometimes longer. So, I'm going to try to get the timestamps up for the podcast too. I know I've been kind of slacking on that recently. Go check out our latest one too. I think it was it was a good show, and it hasn't gotten too many views yet. So please go check that one out. Please subscribe to and like, but especially subscribe. That really helps us out. If you subscribe, comment that you subscribed, and we'll give you a shout out. So yeah, this was my Mets overrated, underrated tier list, and I'll see you guys next time.